Hello, and thanks for clicking on the video. I received a few messages from students asking me to talk about a few things, so I'm going to address this video. The first part of it is going to talk about budgeting. The second part of it is going to talk about the 95-5 rule, and I'll explain to you what that means in a second. Let's talk about the first part. It has to do with background investigations. Those of you who are trying to get a job in law enforcement, I don't know if you're aware, but you're going to be completing a personal history statement form. It's about a 25 to 30 page document on everything about your past history. That includes employment, traffic tickets, traffic accidents, car insurance, car registration, prior discipline at your school, etc. One of the parts in that document talks about your finances. Specifically, it has a four-part. It has your income, your expenditures, and your liabilities and your assets. And so you need to be very careful while you're young, and even now middle-aged to older, that when you get these free offers for credit cards, even offering to transfer for lower interest rates, that you don't just incur a lot of debt that is going to affect you when you apply for a law enforcement agency, because we're going to be giving you a tremendous amount of responsibility to make life and death decisions, and we're going to look at your background, and part of your background is liabilities, is savings, is budgeting. So if you don't know a lot about that, you should learn very fast. I'm sure there's a lot of YouTube videos that describe how to budget your money. I will tell you that the very basic way is that when you get paid, you come up with some envelopes and decide how much gas money you're going to spend during that pay period, how much money for food, how much money for miscellaneous, etc. And then you put that exact amount of cash in there, those envelopes, and then that's the best way to do it. That's an old-fashioned way. I'm sure some of you are listening to me and saying, oh, there's better ways. Well, I believe you, but this is just some ways that worked for me when I was younger and still work today, even though we have all this technology. So that's the first part of this video, that please be aware that budgeting your money and not overspending and not charging too much money on your credit cards or incurring a lot of debts or getting a bankruptcy, etc., is a huge part of your background investigation process. And so please be aware of that. And if as you're listening to this, you think of any other questions dealing with background investigations, please send them my way and I'll clarify that. The other part is the 95-5 rule. I was listening to a video recently from a millionaire, a gazillionaire, billionaire, I guess. He was talking about the 95-5 rule, and he was talking about how he quickly realized at a young age that he didn't want to follow 95% of the population who are pretty much on autopilot, and they're not really paying attention to how to become successful, how to do the right things to get ahead faster than everybody else. So he decided to become the 5% instead of belonging to 95, which are on autopilot. So how do you become part of that 95% of the part of the 5% to become very successful? And I found it interesting that he said that you have to work harder than everybody else. You have to be more focused than everybody else. You have to be more positive than everybody else. And these are the things that I've been telling students for years. As a police officer, I was a go-getter. I was the one that came to work with a positive attitude. I was always happy to go to work. I was positive in everything that I did, how I contacted citizens, how I handled reports, how I talked to my superiors. And because of that, I had the reputation that, I was a hard worker. I always did all the stuff that I was supposed to do, and therefore I got special assignments. Therefore, I got recognition for it. Therefore, citizens wrote nice letters to the chief saying what a great officer I was, etc. And then I think that it became part of my cloth, that eventually I got my PhD. And so I was very focused on getting additional education, continually trying to build my future, continually working on myself and avoiding the distractions. And so if anything, if you get anything from this video, number one is the first thing I told you is the budget. Number two is the 95-5 rule. You quickly have to recognize that you have to abandon the 95% of the people who are on autopilot, just doing the very bare minimum that they do at work and not really putting a lot of effort into themselves. And so I'd like to say that I'm part of that 5% of people who basically wake up with a positive attitude. I go to bed early, I wake up early, I continually do my best to try to help students and help others better their future. I listen to positive lectures, I visit positive places, and I intentionally avoid negativity in my life. So I eat healthy, I exercise, and again, it takes work. It's like, you know, what I mentioned before in happiness, it's not a switch that you flip and you become happy. It's a series of activities that you do to keep you happy and act with a positive attitude when you go about your daily life. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short. I hope you got something out of this video message. Again, if you have any police background questions, don't hesitate to send them my way. I'm very blunt in how I answer things. I don't sugarcoat anything. And so if you ask me something about police backgrounds, be ready for a real response and nothing that is sugarcoated. I hope you're taking good care of yourself. Please stay focused, please stay positive, and we'll talk to you soon.